Welcome,
Good
everyone.
evening.
Good evening. Good
Okay.
evening. Welcome, everyone. Let's take a moment of silence before we start the reading for today. Invoking Mother's and Aurorindo's presence. And bringing the mind to the here and now.
So we have to take up the passage titled Pay the Price. So we can begin, and if anybody is willing, they can please read the passage for us.
Yes. Pay the price. All of you who have come here have been told many things. You have been put into contact with a world of truth. You live within it. The air you breathe is full of it. And yet, how few of you know that these truths are valuable only if they are put into practice, and that it is useless to talk of consciousness, knowledge, equality of soil, universality, infinity, eternity, supreme truth, the divine presence, and of all sorts of things like that, if you make no effort yourselves to live these things and feel them concretely within you. And don't tell yourselves, oh, I have been here so many years. Oh, I would very much like to have the result of my efforts. You must know that very persistent efforts, a very steadfast endurance are necessary to master the least weakness, the least pettiness, the least meanness in one's nature. What is the use of talking about divine love if one can't love without egoism? What is the use of talking about immortality if one is stubbornly attached to the past and the present, and if one doesn't want to give anything in order to receive everything? You are still very young, but you must learn right away that to reach the goal, you must know how to pay the price, and that to understand the supreme truths, you must put them into practice in your daily life.
Yes, anything that anybody would like to share at this point? We'll just take it up line by line. At any time, if you want to share, please unmute and please share. So all of you, Mother says, who have come here, have been told many things. You have been put into contact with the world of truth. You live within it. The air you breathe is full of it, and yet how few of you know that these truths are valuable only if they are put into practice. And that it is useless to talk of consciousness, knowledge, equality of soul, universality, infinity, eternity, supreme truth, the divine presence, and of all sort of things like that, if you make no effort yourself to live these things and feel them concretely within you. If we already know this and we have been trying, in our capacities, that's great. But if we didn't know, that just reading or reflecting without any, want or effort to make it happen for us, to try to, again, like how we stand against ourselves with our natural flow sometimes, then may we know it now that whatever, if a person is a seeker who's seeking truth, who's seeking light, who's seeking to move beyond the chaos, or, I mean, these things will be there, but for more peace, the mother is again reminding us that these truths are valuable only if they are put into practice. I mean, we do see, right? There are so many people and us, and we talk about consciousness, knowledge, and all these things, but this is, I think, a question that we must ask ourselves, is that if we want our lives to change, are we making efforts ourselves to live these things and feel them concretely within us? I don't know if it's related, but just before the session, my mother sent a WhatsApp forward, and there was this guy who somebody was asking him that what is more valuable, knowledge or money? And the guy answered that definitely money, because money nobody gives us, but knowledge everybody is giving everybody freely. So that's what it's kind of indicative, right? That it is true that like, especially in India, we say that everybody is a doctor and everybody knows is place mein kya karna hai. But a lot of times we say things that we ourselves are not doing, we ourselves are not following. So if we can just look at it more, reflect on it and see if there's something I can do in my everyday, not see, it's like a ongoing thing that, and we discuss it often, and the value of practically making things, I don't know, not practically making things to change practically in my everyday, that's immense. So all sort of things like that, if you make no effort yourself to live these things and feel them concretely within you.
On a related note, just reminded, Mother said that one moment of true aspiration or love is worth, she used the word like more than like, several years of reading. So that intensity, I think we have to find this love, it was beautiful. I don't remember the exact words, but something along those lines.
It's like one drop of practice is better than ocean.
Yeah, and so many, proverbs and all, like this one we hear so often, right? That action speaks louder than words, right? Those things, and especially for children, at times we have to remind them, but are we knowing this for ourselves, right? Because it's so much easier to talk about things, to read about things, and it gives a sense of accomplishment, right? Especially some books that we have heard of, that, oh, I'm on this section, or I've read it 3 times, or something like this. But how much, or even a little, have I been able to incorporate? So again, something we need to ask ourselves and pray and aspire for more if we want to make an effort in that direction. Yeah. So taking this further, Mother says, and don't tell yourselves, oh, I've been here so many years. Oh, I would very much like to have the result of my efforts. You must know that very persistent efforts, a very steadfast endurance are necessary to master the least weakness, the least pettiness, the least meanness in one's nature. And we know that because I think at our own level, there are things that, we see coming up, in us again and again, and how hard it is to not say something that you're just about to say, or, like the practices of awareness, the wanting to sit in meditation more and more, for silence, for awareness, again, like they take effort from our end. It doesn't just come very naturally like a lot of things do. So you must know that very persistent efforts, a very steadfast endurance are necessary to master the least weakness, the least pettiness, the least meanness in one's nature. And it appears that we have to master so much, right? So may we all begin more and more. So this is so beautiful too, that what is the use of talking about divine love if one doesn't love without egoism? What is the use of talking about immortality if one is stubbornly attached to the past and the present? This is very interesting, right? And if one doesn't want to give anything in order to receive everything, again, how we say that we want our lives to change, but we don't want ourselves to change. And that would never happen. Like if we change, how they say, Jaisi Drishti, Vaisi Srishti, something on those lines. So Mother ends this by saying, you are still very young, but you must learn right away that to reach the goal, you must know how to pay the price. And that to understand the supreme truths, you must put them into practice in your daily life. Yes, inviting reflections again, if anything.
So powerful.
On the, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, please talk.
Yeah, one of you can. Yuan, please go ahead. Then Vishal can go ahead. Because, just go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It just resonates a lot in this time for me. Like it is truly a work that must be done consciously and gradually. Like to really to love unselfishly with no selfishness. One can even really want to do that, but our nature is I think to love without any egoism is just like changing our identity, what we feel we are, and we cannot jump from some lower state of consciousness. Maybe we can, but usually we don't. Make a great leap, to love with divine love, after gradually and sometimes painfully get rid of our pettiness, of our and refining our vital to let this real love permeate. Very interesting. This I'm sticking with this, learning to pay the price. A friend of mine the other day was just giving me some advice. He told me, like, you have to suffer consciously. He said, like, suffer unconsciously doesn't serve to anything. But you suffer consciously. When I used to be the hero for my daughter, he said, and then now he says, "Oh, Daddy, you're an asshole. You're an idiot." And then I suffer. He says, I suffer, but I suffer consciously. I don't tell him. I told you I am paying you for school. I am not trying to convince her. She just I suffer consciously. I pay the price, and I go loving. It's I keep resonating with this idea of taking what this price and paying the price to, like, she's offering us everything, and we don't even we are not even willing to give a little sometimes.
I think what you just said, the first part of your sharing, where you said about this requires a big leap, the way we love and the way we are asked that to refine our love. It requires a big leap, and it is not possible just suddenly to make that leap. So I want to just talk about that, but we'll talk about that later. Vishalji wanted to say something. Vishal, you want to go next?
Yeah, I was uh, kind of related, but what I was thinking was the other day, I think you were talking about the joy of the effort. And so I think that also is, plays a part, that it is a long journey. And there are times, we get maybe I think I had said, oh, that this we thought okay is okay, but again now it has resurfaced. So now one can look at it and say, oh, one can get discouraged, but one can also look at it and say, "Arey, there is still work to be done." So that is just a different perspective, and I think that is important. I think to also what Juan just said. Um, so in the progress is the joy, right? That's the thing, and I think Mother said like this is really infinite progress. So I mean, personally, that always something that really attracted me to Mother and Sherman. Mother calls it the great adventure. So, so I think that we have to have as a backdrop some way, you know, for all the effort, because it is a long path. There is no much peace. Yeah.
Yeah, anybody else? Anything here? Yeah, so regarding this, this part about how the ordinary way we love, and we read about divine love, and we read about the purity of love without egoism. I think if we read about it, I feel personally that if we are reading about it and then we are acting in a different way, so we are reading about divine love and all the purity that can be possible in love and all the self giving that is possible, and then when I'm acting out in my relationships in an opposite way, the way of my ordinary consciousness, I actually feel very shameful. I feel shameful. So I feel that is very good for me because those words resonate in my ears, whatever I have read from Mother and Sri Aurobindo. And when I see my action, which is opposite to that, what I have read. So because of that shame that arises in the being, it compels me to make a change, for example, that I'm not supposed to be this way. Why am I here again? Why am I here again? So I feel that reading and reflection is also helpful because it creates a want and willingness to change ourselves. क्योंकि वो बार बार वो they those words keep on coming and they haunt you, that what did I just read in Savitri, and now what am I doing? you know so they don't correspond, and it makes me, actually it's a good kind of a shame, I feel, because it propels me forward. It asks me to work on myself. And what you were just sharing, that it requires a leap, actually, and truly it is a leap, the way we love and the way actually the love is supposed to be. But the journey begins with the one step, the step right now in front of me. And what you rightly were sharing, that if your daughter says whatever, that you are an idiot dad or whatever, but you are choosing to suffer consciously. You know that this suffering is there, and it is going only to lead me to something higher only. That consciousness is there. And usually we suffer because we again and again expect from samsaric situations. This is just our blindness. We do every day. We do. We read about it, we discuss about it in a session, like that, or we read about it, words of Mother Sri Aurobindo, that never depend on anything but the divine, for your happiness. And then the very next moment, in another hour or half hour, we are doing the same thing, and we are suffering. So just to remind of those words again and again that we have read, that this is what is expected. What am I expecting? So this is very interesting. One friend of mine was writing me a message that all my friends have left, and my life has become very poor, disappointed from this and that. I told him that what else can we expect? We have to take it as a fact that whatever as has come will go. When it is coming, when some good friend is coming in your life and you're having a good time, then we don't ask that why has it come. No. Then we take it for granted. It is my taken for granted, it has to come, like I deserve this. And when it is going, then I am crying. I never felt thankful while it was there and coming, even a drop of it. So I think we have to just, I feel that I have to hammer it in my head again and again, that life situations are always changing. People are coming and going. People are shifting in their priorities. At times somebody is nice to me, at times somebody is not nice to me. And at times I am nice to other people, at times I may be not nice, because maybe I'm under the influence of a mood or whatever. So things are fleeting, and I cannot depend on my lasting happiness on these fleeting things in a quicksand. It's not possible. It is a wrong expectation from a wrong place. So I just have to remind it, and then I can choose to actually consciously go through that pain or suffering that is there, because I know that it is taking me back to myself. And it hurts when I come back to myself. It hurts, because we are so used to get scattered. We are so used to being scattered that when we are in gathering, it hurts. Adat nahi hai, we are not habituated to it. And in Savitri also, there are two lines where Sri Aurobindo says that himself he seeks or search. He's in search of himself. Finding himself, he thinks of it other than he. So when we come home, we don't realize that we have come home. It hurts because we are so used to being scattered. So yeah, I think these 2 points, making use of suffering consciously, very, very beautiful. Mother has also talked about this, that we must not ask for suffering, but when suffering is there, use it consciously. And then it can actually make us progress much deeper. Suffering is like how we hammer a nail in the wall. So suffering has that intensity of that pinpointedness. For example, if my tooth is hurting, at that moment of time, I can't think of many things because it's so painful that it's like all my threads of consciousness is just at this place. So it ingathers consciousness, usually, which is scattered. And then if we can make use of that ingathered state, collected state, in order to move to the divine, towards the divine, or towards within, one and the same thing, then how beautiful. Like Sri Aurobindo did when he was in Alipur jail. He made use of all the worst situation that was there. So yes, I think beautiful opportunities that come our way every day, if only we can become conscious, and as we were reading, to actually practice, make it our life, all the words that we read, because they will haunt us, that is for sure. Which is very good that they will haunt us, because that is how I will know that there is work still left, still left, still left. So yes.
Now, quite a few years back, once I was talking to Acharya Prashant, and he had said exactly the same thing. So I'm sharing it here. I'd asked a very silly question, like, I've been wanting truth, but the truth seems to be escaping me. Something in those aspects, it doesn't become me. Like, I see it, I read it, I know it, but it doesn't become me. How does it become me? Something like this. And he just, gave his very big smile and looked at me like, kind of like, what are you asking? And he said that pay the price, pay the price. He said that it's like that, okay, you have to get, say, an apartment, and there are maybe 500 installments. And for you, you have paid 2 installments, and you are saying, why am I not getting that, castle or that house? So you have to pay the price. So then he had told me that you pick up a broom and you just, throw everything that is there which is not needed, all the junk in your life, you throw, you clean your room, and then you light a diya, and then truth will come. So right now it's full of trash, like my room is full of trash. So to do a jhadu, and then truth will come. So again, that he repeated this same thing, pay the price. And it's a good, I don't know, advice or a blessing to hear these things, so that one realizes that so much effort needs to be done, and how again and again, this comes to us, that we want to get everything, but not give much, because somewhere there is this thing that, I will not be myself. Like, I am okay. I am centered, I am gathered, I am okay. And from this, I have to be more. But this has to be dropped to be more. But that, I don't know, it keeps escaping us. So, yeah.
I think this cleaning also that you were talking of, that we clean the house and install a lamp, light up a lamp. And it's like we all know that this cleaning is a lifetime of a process, moment to moment cleaning. So I may light a lamp in one moment, but in another moment, I call the garbage in myself back again. So that's the problem that and I often discuss this, that usually when we are cleaning our houses, then we really don't complain. We do it so nicely. We buy a new vacuum cleaner, new kind of a jhadu, a new kind of a wiper, and we don't complain that why am I doing this every day? We don't complain. We take it for granted that the dust will be there every day and I will have to clean. We keep people who can help us for cleaning. All kind of tools we make use of. But when it comes to cleaning our being, mind space, feelings, emotions, taking care of the body, then we get frustrated. So this I often wonder about, that we should not be getting frustrated. I should not be getting frustrated because yahi to karna hai. This is what I have to do. I am a sweeper for all my life. This is my employment. So we can kind of use all the tools that are available to us, new kinds of tools, fancy vacuum cleaners, this kind of meditation, that kind of meditation. But knowing that that cleaning has to be very continuous, has to be, otherwise it's like by default I will be calling back the garbage. That is by default. So we were talking of effort. That is the effort that with my consciousness I become conscious of the garbage. I know garbage as the garbage, and then I keep cleaning. So what we read in aspiration, rejection, and surrender. So first there has to be an aspiration so that the lamp is lit all the time, and then there has to be a constant rejection of the garbage. Moment to moment, because as Sri Aurobindo says that man's nature is like dirty cup of water, a cup full of dirty water. And the problem is that you throw the water away once, but then you fill it up with the dirty water again. That is what we do. So to be very comfortable with that emptiness that we experience in moments where we have cleaned everything away, to be very comfortable with that to develop that taste of that emptiness and silence and quietude, turning thoughts and feelings to the divine. And once we develop a taste, then that is our new self. We don't have to keep remaining our older selves. Although the older self still lurks, as Sri Aurobindo says, in our new selves. But that is okay, in degrees and in slowly, gradually it recedes because we don't give it power. And the other thing also that we had read that how we keep sticking to past and present while God wants to give us immortality, but we keep so in Alokda in one of his talks had said that it is like we are having a package deal that we have with God, and the God says that give me your past and whatever the baggage that you have, and I will give you something new, a bright future or whatever. But we are so, as we were talking, that we are not ready to pay the price, and we are so sticky to that baggage that we are carrying, that even if there is a glitter of the new, but we are so familiar with the old that I don't want to drop that heavy baggage that I am carrying. A limping yes, an eternal no. This is what, I think this is what maybe in Hinduism they call kubuddhi. गंदी बुद्धि, समझ ही नहीं आता क्यों क्या हमारे लिए सही है, what is good for us, what is bad for us, we don't understand. So it's very interesting to see our kubuddhi. And it happens every moment. Every moment we call the past again and again and the present commentary, and we refuse that new package that is to come to us. Yeah.
I think also, all of us have had we are here. So that means that there is something in us that has pulled us here. And so we've all had, these moments, whether it's true aspiration, devotion, whatever you want to say. And I would just, always get reminded of Savitri. So there's those lines, a greater personality sometimes possesses us, which yet we know is ours. No, sorry, one second. Yeah. Or we adore the master of our souls. And then he goes on. I'll just skip some lines. In moments when the inner lamps are lit and the life's cherished guests are left outside, our spirit sits alone and speaks to its sculpts. So those I think that also provides some sustaining power, because you know कि भाई पहले I've had some time when felt great love for the mother, or uh, felt this little sense. I mean, we're all here because of that. So obviously something in us, mother says that you know if you what is it if you seek the divine seeking you more. So I think that is just keep kind of putting ahuti in that flame of aspiration.
Yeah. चेरिश्ड गेस्ट जब तक हमें चेरिश लगते हैं ना, वो तब तक वो कचड़ा नहीं दिखता है. यूजुअली वी कॉल garbage in the name of cherished guests. So that is what we have to keep aside. It seems very promising and glittery and very familiar, and we keep calling it in. Like Sri Aurobindo uses the word, the old cancelled passports, sir. आजा. कोई passport की जरूरत नहीं है तेरे को. So that is how we keep calling these cherished guests back again and again. And as you rightly said, that something must have happened, and it keeps happening. Again in Savitri, there are these lines where he says that uh, our darker parts also keep growing towards God, something like that. That something behind the veil keeps working, keeps working, keeps working, and our darker parts also then yearn for light, more and more light. So it's beautiful how we are in a situation which is a win-win situation without our knowledge. And in another line he says that God shall grow up while the wise men talk and sleep. So very interesting.
When Vishalji was talking about aspiration, I have always wondered that why in others given so much emphasis on aspiration. Wherever I read, aspiration sincerity, even one place I was reading, more than surrender, aspiration is needed, even if you cannot, there was an answer, somebody, asked her a question, paraphrasing, where she spoke about that even if surrender is not possible, which is difficult, fuel your aspiration, Even with school children, there was this focus on aspiration, and I think sometimes with me, we always keep this up, all this we were talking about purification of our being. We have to keep when I will know why I'm doing it. Why is it important? What is it that I'm doing here for?
नंदिनी, आपकी
why
आवाज
am
क्लियर
I
नहीं है.
here even in this? Okay, I will type maybe. I think that will work
No,
better.
you can talk, but maybe put the mic closer to whatever. I don't know. It's not very clear.
Yeah, I was just thinking that how can we concretize our aspiration? That sometimes we don't even know what we are aspiring for. Like I always also think, for example, I remember Monica gave this very good example that has stayed with me. Where we were talking, giving example of somebody who was very depressed because the parents passed away, and he was very sad. And then one day he decided that no matter what happens in my life, I will always be happy. I will always be happy. Like there cannot be no sadness in my life, and that became his aspiration. He always made sure that he's happy, and whatever pulled him down, he just kind of shut it away. So I think even that aspiration that I will prioritize my inner peace, or I will be happy for a week, or for 5 days. Like for example, I would do that for 5 days. I will wake up at 5 p.m. and I'll make sure I do it. Even these small aspiration and really concretizing it really helps, because this big aspiration that I'm going to surrender to to divine mother. Sometimes I can't really, to be very frank, I can't. I'm not able to do it at the moment. I'm very imperfect. Um, but I can definitely try to think about her at least 10 times or 20 times in a day and really do 20 times, sometimes even write. How many times did I think of the Mother, Krishna? How many times did I take deep breaths, saying that I prioritize my inner peace? And when I concretize this aspiration, it really, it makes the way for me. So that I think, the aspiration I feel has to be concretized and not left as an abstract form. That I have an aspiration in life, but what aspiration? So I feel that really helps. I think it helps me with sharing.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, we cannot undermine the importance of these little things that we do for ourselves. Yes, very important. Yeah, anybody else?
On these same lines, Captain has twice or thrice shared about that complaint-free world, right? The book that
Yeah,
he has read.
yeah.
So that too is a very beautiful and a very difficult thing. Like I remember the first time Captain shared it, I didn't pay attention. The second time he shared it, I thought I'll experiment with it. And I realized that even though I was actively not complaining, like it wasn't that, okay, earlier on I would say that, this is wrong or that is wrong. That was not happening. So I had a false perception that, oh, I don't complain much. But when I started becoming conscious to that, suddenly I realized that the brain or the past things that I'm holding on to, that complaint thing is there in my attitude, in my behavior. If somebody does something this way, I would say, oh, you have done this 10 times before. Those small lingering things. But if you are aspiring for, say, a no complaint week or day, then you don't get it. Like I didn't get it because it was there either active or passive, but I could see things operating from there. So that too, I keep going back to it, but it's tough to see, to I don't know, to not see that it's not a possibility कि कहीं पे थोड़ा सा भी anybody, any place, any situation, to be okay with that and not have anything, especially from the past, come up and give a thought or a poke or a nudge. Yeah.
Also, I'd like to share about the part that you said it takes so much effort to keep cleaning yourself of that garbage, and it's and like you were saying about the complaining, but sometimes even in situations where you are with somebody else and they make you realize that you have this tendency which you never realized you had, and which has become a part of your, like, you just said about the complaining habit. So for me it was like, I I think I'm a very positive person and I'm always looking for the positive in situations. But I happened to spend some time with with my father. We went on a trip where he and I were together most of the time, and he pointed out that, why are you so negative? And for me that was such a shock, because I always thought I'm such a positive person. But then I realized that when I'm interacting with him, because he's my father, I'm always going to him with the problem. So he's like, don't always come to me with the problem, come to me with the solution. Or so it's also because of my way of relating, because he's my father and I'm going to him naturally with the problem, all the time. So it's like every day brings to you a new lesson of a new garbage that you need to clean. And you keep making that effort. And like she said about that aspiration, um, it's a constant thing. You have to light that lamp every single day. It's a process that the more you're lighting, the more you're realizing so much more garbage is there to be cleaned. And also, I think right now we are in a situation in the world where there's so much happening outside, and we are reading the news, and we're seeing all these horrible imagery all the time. And every time you're thinking, how can I help, or what can I do, or um, how can I, you know, be of any service to anybody out there. And then it always comes back that how have I managed to even change myself, you know? How do you change the world? Um, it's it's um it's something I think about a lot. Maybe you can suggest, you know, that how do we help to have less hate and violence and war in the world? Um, I mean, is it self-centered to only keep thinking about yourself and your own immediate uh, people, your own immediate needs? How do we contribute to world peace, you know, while also working towards our own peace?
Yeah. Mother has suggested, Sri Aurobindo have, both of them have suggested, and we have read it many times. Power of thought. We undermine it. We don't even realize that we have so much of power that we can create tumors in the body. Our thoughts, our feelings can create complications in the body. So, how powerful are our thoughts? They are making a physical change. Imagine. So, as mother says, to not focus on like what the news that we see. Of course, things are happening, but good things are also happening which don't get recorded and they are not coming in the news. How many people helped today each other? Has that come into the news today? No, that totally goes wayside. And what we get is a distorted picture of the world, which is okay, which is also there. And how we can contribute, mother has suggested that people always need to run their thoughts, like run. They're always running. Our thoughts are always running. If we are looking at news, then our thoughts are running in a bad direction because we are looking at news which is not very nice, right? Oh my god, what has happened to this world? When will we change? All these things are very negative, they don't help us. So when you say how can I help, mother says you can help by creating positive formations. This is what we have to do. So she shares, I'll just read her own words. She shares, you first of all, she shares that, for example, people are not well and in a place where you can't reach them, but you think about them, you become anxious. You can do a lot of good to people just by sitting quietly in your room, perhaps even more good than by undergoing a lot of trouble externally. कि हमको मिलने जाना है किसी से, I want to meet that person, oh he's not well. So we, instead of taking that trouble, she says, if you know how to think correctly with force and intelligence and kindness, yes, if you love someone and wish them well very sincerely, deeply, with all your heart, that does them much good, much more certainly than you think, because we undermine the power of it. So she says much more than what you think. you know yeah, and then she goes on that if somebody is ill, we don't have to run after it, just make a positive formation. And at another instance, she says, people always need to make their mind run, but then make it run on the right lines, and you will see that it has an effect. She says, for instance, let it go like this, that I shall learn better and better. I shall know better and better. I shall become healthier and healthier. And all difficulties will vanish. And wicked people will become sweet and good. And ill people will be cured. And houses which should be built will be built. And those things which should disappear will disappear. So this is what we have to do, because abhi kya chal raha hai right now in my brain, everything opposite to this is going on, that wicked ones are not going to change. I am unfit, mera kya hoga, I don't know. you know and people are creating mansions and mansions, but poor people have don't know house to live. So this is what goes on in my head, but I have to reverse it. I have to do my bit, as you asked, what can I do? So this is what we can do. This is something very, very simple. The only thing it requires is just to be conscious of what you are thinking. And the moment I become conscious, I can change it. and feel it. And we are doing this japa or affirmation in our head throughout the day. We are doing a japa throughout the day. We are affirming. So people talk that affirmations work, don't work. I don't know whether they are a hula loo, whatever. But we are affirming all the time. So why not affirm something which is positive and can contribute to global peace and unity and kindness? So the moment, and this is our task, Mother has prescribed, those of us who have belief in Mother, faith in Mother, Mother has clearly delineated what is our task as a human being. Because we have a consciousness which can look at things. The moment I look at a thing which is dark, my task as a human being is to turn to light. The moment I see falsehood in me, outside me, my task is not to complain. This is not my task. That is where we stray. My task is jahan pe falsehood dikha, wherever I see falsehood, outside, inside, all is one. I have to turn to truth. Wherever I see suffering, I become conscious of suffering and I take it to truth, bliss, suffering to bliss. So everything has their counterparts. And since we know in the story of creation, everything got upturned. So we have a world which is full of suffering, full of falsehood, full of unconsciousness. That is the task. This is a raw material that we see in the world. Like आपके सामने एक्सपेरिमेंट के लिए एक रॉ मटेरियल पड़ा हुआ है सामने. अब आप कंप्लेन थोड़ी ना करोगे कि हाय ये क्या दे दिया मुझे. The moment you know this is my raw material, we work on it. When I see a rotten peel, I make compost out of it. I don't complain about the rotten smell. This is my task. So this is what we can do, all of us can do and must do, because we waste a lot of time. I know that we waste a lot of time, all of us, in ruminating, regurgitating about all the things which are just focused around me, my story and my life, and what is missing in my life, what did not happen to me. Really, if I have done enough of that, then in whatever time, empty pockets of time, we have enough empty pockets of time, all of us, whether we are cooking or cleaning or driving, on the way, walking. And the moment we become conscious of thoughts, either turn them to Mother Sri Aurobindo or divine, or to think that yes, the world will become a better place. I know, because Sri Aurobindo has promised. I know that. So that certitude has to be felt in the body. Because right now, when I look at negative events in the world, it makes my body weak. Feel the weakness when you look at news. It makes your body feel weak. I feel it. So I don't go close to news because it makes me feel weak. The only thing we can do is empower ourselves. So when we affirm positive, we feel the strength in the body. That how are you feeling now when you know that Sri Aurobindo has promised that superhumanity will come? How are you feeling? I'm feeling very good. I'm feeling strength of it. So that strength of it has to be felt in the body. Whenever we are affirming, the strength of it has to be felt in the body. And there is our little contribution to humanity. Plus, as you were sharing yourself, plus continuing our inner journey. Because Sri Aurobindo says, without each one of us being united with our true consciousness, there cannot be global unity and peace. सब लड़ते मरते रहेंगे आपस में, क्योंकि हमारे अंदर ही 5 लोग लड़ रहे हैं. हमारे अंदर भी तो 5-6 लड़ रहे हैं ना आपस में, जो हम बात कर रहे थे. बिन पैंदे के लोटे हैं हम. We are contradictory beings. Inside of us, many selves are living, all at war with each other. So if we unify ourselves, then the world will also get unified. So this is, all of us can do it by sitting at our home, by doing whatever little we are doing. No extra space and extra effort required. Just consciousness required. Where am I lurking right now in my thoughts? So yes, very important, and thank you for sharing and asking that, because we forget that what is our power, what all we can do, we forget.
I just wanted to share my experience especially on what we were reading. It's a personal experience, but I just thought that since we read it and shared it about, when mother was saying when somebody's ill, it is very childish that we always want to go run and always want to take care of, of it. Rather, it will be great if we can really, what Monica was saying, that having that certitude in your mind, creating that formation or doing, like a meditation where that vibrations reach the person. So recently, my father had a heart attack, and I was in Ireland, and he actually went. He came to see me here, and he had a heart attack here. But he didn't know. But he went back, and just when he went back, the second I get a call from my uncle that my father had a heart attack, or the doctor says that they're doing something, they're investigating what's going to happen, and he might have to have a surgery. And my because I'm here, I'm the only child as well. I always have this big baggage that I always carry that I have to really look after my father. I lost my mother recently, so that's more that he's by himself. And I remember I had a very terrible day. I was, really angry at mother and saying, what is this? Why is this again? And all of that. And of course, I spoke to Monica as well that day. But, and usually I have a tendency of just packing my bags and running. All the time I have this. Something happens, pack my bag and go. Pack it back and go. But this time, there was something in me that was telling me that you have to go. Stay. This time, if I can use this word, your dharma is to stay here. It was very difficult because, really in the journey of despair and helplessness, especially when you're near somebody. But really, I did exactly what because I've read it before. That I created that always every action. I'm so conscious, from the second day of course after that there's a bit of sideways. I created, imagined my father that, he's smiling, he's healing. And the doctor is also, the doctor was very good. He was one of my friends actually. And, it was the divine mother is looking after my father. So I always imagine mother, being beside him. And of course I kept him, but not even for a second I had a doubt that he'll not be okay. Even when the results were pending, some people were saying, oh my God, it's been 10 days. Some relatives can tell you 10 days and the damage that happens in the heart is irreversible and all of that. And every time that vibration came, I kind of said, no, I don't want you. I don't want you. I know my father is going to be okay. So what Monica was saying, that's kind of certitude. And for me, it was really hard. Really hard. I don't know how successful I was in doing it, but I tried my best. Really creating that formation and imagining that he's okay. And of course, there were extended family who was looking after him, so he was not alone. And it was so effortless, that the result came and the doctor said there's actually no damage happened. It's okay. He had to get a shunt in his heart, but everything was fine. This reliance on the divine, that he's the one who looks after everybody, not us. Of course, we need to be there if we need to be there, but this childishness, the word that mother uses that we have, I really realized that it's not very useful. So I just want to share how it actually helps. Actually, how the medicines and everything else, so that foundation.
Voice is getting cut actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think very powerful. And mother says that we are always surrounded by the things that we think of. That is a truth, she says. And if somebody has eyes which can look at those formations, she says, because she must have looked, she says that then you will see like octopus ink like stains, and then there are beautiful formations and all kinds of things people are surrounded with. So we can carry our own atmosphere. And it is not about success in material terms. Like Nandini was sharing, I don't know how successful I was. The very success was that from a negative loopy state you were able to be in a higher vibration. That already was a success. Not whether what will happen to the relative, because we often we have this thing, like this we see, and we think that, oh, if my prayers were heard, then my relative will be saved, and if my relatives did not get saved, it means my prayers were not heard. So this is not how divine looks at things. So we have to know that, because each thing has its own purpose. We don't know whose unfolding is leading to what. So we don't know whether living is more important than dying. At times dying is more important than living, who knows. So we should not be underestimating our prayers and basing their success on what I would like out of this prayer. We can't do that, because we don't know what is good. So mana abhi, like Savitri, when she goes closer and closer and closer to the soul, finding of the soul, there it comes that she knew there was something higher. She knew there was God, but she did not know who he was. So a true realization, okay, not there. But this much realization there is some power which knows more than me. This much is enough. I don't know, but there is some power which knows more. So there we can rest. So it was already a success, what Nandini was sharing, that her vibration changed from a negative, loopy one to a higher and lofty one, and of certitude. So that sent out a ripple in the world that is around of certitude. This is our contribution. Having said that, we all have our weaknesses, imperfections. So, not that everything is very hunky dory, but it is a very long, dim preparation, man's life. So, we have to come to terms with it. But having said that, we know that we should also, moment to moment, jitna bhi ho sakta hai, whatever little we can do, we should do. Whatever little. At times, we will not be able to do. We all know that. But whenever we can, we must. Otherwise, what is the point of being a human being? And we all know that we have phases in life where neither aspiration is there nor surrender is there. Everything is goofed up and you are in a very bad state. Those stages will also come. They are part of the process. But when there is a relatively okay stage going on, and we can remember the divine, we can think positively, then we must make use of it. जब नहीं कर पाएंगे तब भगवान of course देख ही रहा है. And as we were reading from Savitri, just 2-3 lines which I was remembering, he shares there, he comes unseen into our darker parts, and curtained by the darkness does his work, a subtle and all-knowing guest and guide, till they too feel the need and will to change. So he's there working in our darker parts. That certitude needs to be there. है ना? जब एस्पिरेशन है, हाँ बहुत अच्छी बात है, कर लेंगे एस्पायर और काम करेंगे. जब नहीं है तो भी काम हो रहा है. So that's such a certitude that mother gives us, Sri Aurobindo gives us. In prayers, mother gives us again and again this certitude that I know if you are here, then divine victory is certain. But when we can put effort, we must put effort. When we can't, then we can't. Yeah, anything here? Anyone?
Once there was this small newspaper seller I had heard who was selling newspapers, and he was shouting, like, say 5 people were killed in broad daylight, 5 people were killed in broad daylight. Somebody quickly bought the newspaper and he went through it, and there was no news that 5 people were killed in broad daylight. So he caught the guy, the boy, next day, and he said, yesterday you sold like this and there was no news. He said, yeah, but then nobody buys. If I say that Jawaharlal Nehru is hosting the flag, nobody wants to read it. So, that's how I sell. So again, the thing comes that what am I buying? That's what I was just reminded of, that I cannot change the world maybe, but I can be conscious of what I am buying, because whatever I am buying will become more. But usually what we are told is ki what will happen if you stop? You're just too little, you are just one. But all these ones, make 11 and then 111 and then whatever. So Let me see what I am buying so that that can increase, yeah, and expand.
Yeah, so true. Just actually, I think yesterday, in this discussion, uh, that, anything now we have a lot of social media, we're all here, uh, has the positive side and the negative side. Right? Negative side is this, and that's all these, their algorithms are geared that way. If you like to see negative things, they'll send you more negative things. I mean, look how the irony of that. Like literally, they say, "Chalo, isko or fuel do." When you do positive things, then they'll feed you more positive things. So I think it's also, I mean, there is a good side to it. We are all connected in so many different places, and then there's the bad side to it. So it's very true. But unfortunately, the bad side is, and that is the thing, right? This is the fight between the asuras and the gods. It's very interesting. But they're also using, and they're also very strong. So you have to realize, that's, I think we're having this discussion. Some other people just thought I'd mention it.
So I think we can end here now. It's almost 10:40. So we went through the passage titled Pay the Price today. And not pay today, but today we went through the passage titled that. So yeah, so we'll end here and thanking grace, thanking divine for the beauty, for the power, for the force, for the truth of these words. May I see more, be more or less, whatever is my journey. So praying for peace and happiness and delight for everyone. And may I get the strength and the grace to pay the prices I need to pay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.